Hi, so during this past summer, me and my girlfriend sat down and we watched the first 11 Disney animated movies. Why did we only get to 11? Well, I'll tell you that later. But I figured it might be helpful for other people trying to navigate the old Disney movies to see what's worth watching, maybe what's not worth watching, and what's worth still showing to the next generation of kids and potential filmmakers. Needless to say, Disney is absolutely ubiquitous. They own everything. The mouse controls everything. And these first films are quite indicative of where the company was going and some of the innovations in filmmaking that still affect all the movies that we see to this day. So, let's get to the ranking. Number 11, Sword in the Stone. This is the reason why we stopped watching the Disney films. It was pretty bad. The art style is super scratchy and isn't very endearing. It looks a little bit lazy, and the overall story and pacing is just not there compared to the other Disney animated films. Arthur isn't a very interesting character, and the wizard guy, I forgot his name, he's just kind of kooky, but there's no real heart for this movie. It takes way too long to get where it's going, and the musical numbers are just... Were there musical numbers? I don't know. I already forgot that much about this film, so moving on to the next one. The next one is maybe a hot take to some people, but I think is well warranted, and that is Snow White. Although Snow White was a absolutely groundbreaking film, it's the first animated Disney film that's a feature length, and it's also just kind of one of the first animated feature films. It came out in 1938, which is a long time ago, and it definitely shows. Snow White as a character isn't very developed. She's just kind of your typical Hollywood woman that definitely hasn't aged well and is not a very good influence on young women now, so I wouldn't recommend this movie to any kind of modern audience. Studying it for its social impact and cinematic impact I think is important, but besides that, there's not a lot going for this film. The songs are kind of strange, it's sung really, really high, and the dwarves haven't aged well for me, at least. They're not very endearing, and overall this film's just fine. It's an okay film. In number 9, I have Peter Pan, and I know Peter Pan is a absolutely beloved character to a lot of people, but I do not think this movie has aged well. I didn't find Peter Pan as a very compelling character. His arc isn't very compelling. Wendy is probably the best part of this, and the way she cares for her brothers, and there's obviously that one song and that one scene that everybody thinks about nowadays when they think about the Peter Pan movie. So with this being my first time watching this film, I wasn't impressed, and it's not as good as any of the other movies on this list. Number 8 is Dumbo, and initially I really liked the film. A lot of these movies, this was my first time watching these, and Dumbo was a very heartfelt film. The relationship between Dumbo and his mom really tugs at the heartstrings. The overall arc of Dumbo and his kind of redemption story is really nice, and it just makes you feel nice and warm on the inside. I think it's an okay message for kids nowadays, but there's also that one scene. There's so many of these films with just one scene that hasn't aged well, and although it's not like explicitly racist, it's pretty ignorant for modern audiences, so watch it with that in mind. It's good to be critical knowing what you know now, but it's a good movie. This is the first one on the list that I actually really enjoyed. So the next one is Bambi. Bambi coming in at number 7. Bambi is a really cute movie. It's endearing. The little tiny woodland creatures are adorable. The kind of coming of age story that Bambi goes through is really compelling and is done really well. It's heart-wrenching as a lot of these Disney movies and later Pixar borrowing from that tradition is, but it's a good time. There's a good message, and I think is great for kids, so I can't complain about any of it. I just didn't like it as much as the other movies that are going to be on this list. Number 6 is probably the most visually stunning out of all of these, and that is Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty is in VistaVision ultra widescreen and just warms my film student heart. It's sharp and geometric, and the colors are stunning, and the songs are beautiful, and the characters, although they're maybe one-dimensional, I think they're archetypal and still resonate with audiences today. I really like the fairy godmothers. They're fun. A lot of this movie still holds up really well, and it might not be the most complex story, but it has a story to tell, and it tells it really well. And yeah, it's a good movie. Good time. Number 5 is Lady and the Tramp. Lady and the Tramp is another really endearing film. You laugh, you cry, and then you laugh again, and the characters are really great. The way that they grow and their arc throughout the film is really good, and it's a classic kind of unlikely duo movie, and I think it's done really well, and it's really endearing, and it's a good time. So I can't complain about any of it. If your heart doesn't get warm with the Bella Notte song and that scene, I don't know what will warm your heart, but it's a great time. Good movie. Number 4 is Pinocchio, and Pinocchio is only the second feature-length animated film Disney did, but I think really operates on hidden meanings and archetypal stories, and is a really important kind of coming-of-age movie for, I think, men and boys specifically. The movie really worked for me. I don't know so much if it would work for kids nowadays. It's a really compelling story, and I think plenty of work has been done on this kind of hidden meanings within Pinocchio. It's aged really well, and I think is the best old movie on this list. Number 3 is the cool, edgy kid of this whole pack, and that is Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is psychological and trippy and just strange at times, but I just found it so captivating, and I was in it the whole time. It's a kind of strange ride that you go through with so many cool characters that you come across, and is totally a modern, almost hipster aesthetic to this film, and I was so pleasantly surprised by this film. We can identify with Alice a lot, and trying to navigate the weird world that we live in is something that we can identify with within this film. So I think this movie's aesthetic is so cool. It's such a good time, so I really recommend people watch it. Number 2 is 101 Dalmatians, and I would be lying if I said that I had a completely objective view, but 101 Dalmatians is just so good and so cute, and such a well-knitted story. I love the art style. It's scratchy in the way Sword in the Stone is, weirdly enough, but it works for the aesthetic of the movie. I love the characters and the love stories and the jazz, obviously. I love jazz. Cruella de Vil is iconic, and for good reason, and the puppies are cute, and what's there not to love about this film? I think it's great for kids. So it's aged super well. What else can I say? It's a great movie. And number 1 on the list is the reason why princess movies have become so ubiquitous in our culture, and that is Cinderella. And Cinderella earns all the praise that it gets. It is just such an elegant movie, and the songs are great, and it's just a beautiful film, and it has that quintessential Disney magic to it, and I think it's evident to anybody who's seen it and anybody who watches it. The sidekick characters are fun, they're not annoying. Cinderella as a character is really patient and really kind, and I think is something that's a good example for kids to look up to. The stepsisters are funny. The evil stepmother is quintessentially archetypal. This is where a lot of tropes originate, and it's often imitated but never duplicated. What else can I say? This movie is fantastic, and it's definitely the best out of these first 11. So if you disagree with me about any of the placings of these films on the list, or if you have other comments about the way these movies have aged, or if they're good for kids now, please leave it in the comment section. I'd love to have a discussion about that. If you have any other movies that you want me to rank, I'm thinking maybe doing the Disney Renaissance movies, but I do have to get caught up on actually seeing a lot of them. Please comment below in the comment section, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'll be making a lot more videos like this, and movie reviews, and stuff like that. So thanks for watching. That's it for me.